7th day of May 2023, and welcome to TV47 News Tonight. Top picks just for you. Tonight, President defends Housing Fund deduction.
Housing Fund, the contribution you make in the Housing Fund is not a tax. Sio ushuru. Hiyo ni pesa yako.
As opposition leader rubbishes finance bill as anti-people.
And they're saying that the taxes which have been put in the current budget are too punitive and must be removed.
Also tonight, 9 people have died, 80 others in serious condition after an outbreak of an unknown disease that has hit the northern county of Marsabit.
Macho yanakuwa yellow, fever mingi na weakness.
Plus, incoming EACC chair Bishop David Oginde with an intro filled to the brim as he slays the dragon he termed as an enemy of the country.
So the chairman has to be, Bishop Oginde has to be able to stand strong and stand tall against political interference. How he is going to do it, I think, is to win the confidence of the citizens towards the commission and ensure that people feel the power, the weight, and the independence of the commission.
Rodanyama is on the sign language interpretation. I'm your host, Stanley Nyirungite. Now you can always talk to us on our social media platforms below your screens. Tonight we begin with after jitters from workers' unions as well as the opposition regarding the proposed finance bill. President William Ruto has defended his proposals, insisting that Kenyans will now be contributing 3% of their income and kickstart the journey of owning a house. The head of state says the government will strengthen the housing fund to help more Kenyans purchase affordable housing units. This as Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya, that is POAC, allayed fears of a looming increase of fuel prices if the parliament approves the already tabled bill. Mike Kagwongo opens our bulletin tonight.
President William Ruto now states that the 3% affordable housing plan will be the only way to enable low-income earners to own homes.
Sio lazima mapato yako iwe ni wa kiwango ya shilingi 1,020, sijui 1,100, sijui 1,200. Hata mwananchi wa kawaida, hasla wa kawaida, anawezekana apate nyumba, anaweza kulipa kwa bile bei anaweza na aite nyumbani kwake baada ya miaka 15. That is where we want to take our country.
Speaking at the groundbreaking of the Lab Fund Bellevue Park Residence Project in Nairobi, the head of state noted that the affordable housing plan was a campaign promise he had to fulfill.
So instantly, before even you begin, every contributor, you double your money before you begin by making sure that you force your employer to make a contribution towards the purchase of a house that you will call home.
The head of state, however, clarified that 3% contributed from one's income towards the housing fund is not a tax, as the money deducted belongs to the people of Kenya.
The contribution you make in the housing fund is not a tax. Sio ushuru. Hiyo ni pesa yako. Hiyo ni pesa yako, sio pesa ya ushuru. Na hiyo pesa yako ukitoa shilingi moja, yule ambaye ni amekuajiri anatoa shilingi moja. Ndio, na hiyo pesa yote inakuwa pesa ya mwananchi.
Ruto also said that the government has waived tax on all equipment and commodities that will be used in affordable housing. Further, he called out political leaders who are against the plan, arguing that many campaigned with him and promised Kenyans affordable housing. And now the 3% deduction was the solution.
Na hawa viongozi nilifanya campaign na wao, walinisikiza vizuri nikisema kuna mpango ya housing. Si ndio? And it was public. Nilisema tuko na mpango ya housing. Sasa msinikeuke hapa katikati, kwani mlikuwa mnafikiri hiyo housing ilikuwa ni siasa ya maneno ya kuongea tu porojo? Hapana.
President Ruto noted that the government had plans to engage investors to ensure that the number of housing units put up yearly was increased in the affordable housing plan.
Na haijawezekana kufikia sasa tupate nyumba mwananchi wa kawaida ambaye anaweza kulipa mortgage ya shilingi 4,000, 5,000 apate nyumba ya kununua na aite ni kwake.
Young men and women of South Sea are working on this side. Na tutahakikisha kuwa tumesimama hapo na timu yetu na kuhakikisha kuwa vijana wanapata kazi yao.
Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party leader Raila Odinga has criticized the Kenya Kwanza Alliance government over the proposed finance bill of 2023. Odinga described the bill as anti-people and noted that if passed by members of parliament, it would hurt Kenyans at the bottom of the pyramid.
And they are saying that the taxes which have been put in the current budget are too punitive and must be removed.
Meanwhile, Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya has disputed government's proposal of tax increase in the new finance bill of 2023. Speaking in Nairobi Thursday, Pongak CEO John Njogu said the association has tabled a petition signed by all industry players demanding a solution to the problem.
Maximum margin of 1%, yet withholding VAT on petroleum products is charged at 2%. This single irrationality has driven many businesses to bankruptcy.
According to stakeholders, this will cause an immediate rise in the cost of living, which is already very high.
The petroleum industry is an over-milked cow. You cannot milk it any further. If you try to milk it any further, I promise you, it is not a matter of if, it is a matter of when the industry is going to collapse.
They said it should not be lost to all that the inflation on fuel prices has been the main cause of the rise of cost of living. Mike Kagwango, TV 47, Nairobi.
As the exhumation of Shakahola bodies in the Shakahola forest continue, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights now fear that the mode of the operation could lead to more deaths as the rest of people in the forest was scaring away the survivors. Chichi Josephine tells us more.
Day 3 of the second phase of the Shakahola exhumation has seen investigators exhume 5 bodies and rescue 2 people who are fasting in the forest, raising the number of those rescued to 72.
Leo tuliweza wapata wanaume wawili ambao walikuwa pale msituni. Hali yao sio mbaya sana na wameweza kupelekwa hospitalini. Ile kikundi ama kile kikundi ambacho kinahusika na mambo ya kufukua mili waliweza kufukua mili 5. Wale ambao wameweza kuunganishwa na familia zao bado ni 14.
By close of business today, investigators had unmarked more shallow graves for exhumation from tomorrow. Authorities have also conducted more searches in the forest so as to get more information that could help them firm their case against Mackenzie.
Wale ambao tumewakamata na wako nasi kuendelea kutusaidia na wamepelekwa kotini ni 25. Na pia DNA samples kwa sababu mambo ya postmortem ilisimama bado tunasimamia 93.
The model of the operation at the forest has caused concerns among human rights bodies who say the exercise is more focused on the exhumation of bodies and arrests instead of rescuing survivors, hence making would-be survivors retreat deeper into the thickets.
It is saddening to observe that operations so far have focused on exhumation of the dead rather than rescue of the living. In this regard, we call upon a strategy that facilitates saving the lives of the radicalized, indoctrinated persons still in the forest.
Professor Marion Mutugi, a commissioner at KNCHR, said that the commission would stand with victims of the Paul Mackenzie cult as she recommended a change of strategy to focus on the rescue operation.
The Kenya National Commission on Human Rights wishes to condole with the family and friends of those who have lost their lives or those whose loved ones are still missing in the Shakahola tragedy.
with official statements indicating that more than 500 people might be trapped or hiding in the 800 forest. Local community, the civil society organizations and the media have been urged to continue the good work of whistleblowing on the Shakahola tragedy.
We particularly wish to appreciate civil society organizations and people of this community who played an important role of whistleblowing and continue to assist in resolution of this matter. We also want to appreciate the media for highlighting this as we go along in trying to unravel this tragedy.
She added that there is need for the government to give protection to the survivors who are recuperating, who will later be used as state witnesses.
We note that these persons who are domiciled in hospitals and in rescue homes may have information that is useful for resolution of this matter and may indeed act as witnesses. In this regard, we call upon the relevant government agencies to provide adequate security to ensure their safety.
However, religious organizations have been urged to stop doctrines that may lead to harming the people and especially the children.
We thereby call upon religious organizations, be they Christian, Muslim, Hindu or other, with one voice to condemn this practice of self-harm in the name of spirituality.
Chechi Josephine, TV47.
Thank you, Chechi Josephine, for that. And still on matters religious extremism, Eliud Wekesa, alias Yesu wa Tongaren, will remain in custody until Friday to allow the court to rule out his fate. The suspect is accused of radicalization, money laundering, running an unlawful society, among other crimes. And as a reporter Wanji Sostin narrates, the police have, however, asked the court to give them 7 days to allow complete investigations.
Yesu wa Tongaren presented himself at Bungoma DCI headquarters on Wednesday for the police questioning, and on Thursday he availed himself again for the same, but he met unexpected. He was escorted to Bungoma Law Court and arraigned before Principal Magistrate Tom Orlando. Wekesa, who is the self-proclaimed Jesus from Tongaren, is being accused of radicalization, money laundering, running an unlawful society, among others. The police are also requesting the court allow the accused to go for mental health analysis and be detained for 7 days for more investigation.
He's also praying for an order for mental assessment, and he's also praying for an order for a search warrant.
The suspect's lawyer, Simi Wamalwa, asked the court to suspend the detaining order and release him on bond.
For being stoned by the public. As you can see, Your Honor, many people here, the public, are the one coming around to see him. There is no way he can be stoned. Your Honor, we pray that that application for the suspect, for the respondent, to be placed in custody for 7 days at Bungoma Police Station to be denied.
However, for the other two remaining prayers, I reserve my ruling for tomorrow at 10.
Jesus, on his part, said that he is ready to cooperate with the court's decision and he will stand firm on his mission.
Ukakuliwa chintu wamenena, hakuna shida. Maana nimesema kasi ya Mungu haikosolewi.
Jesus of Tongaren will know his fate tomorrow at 10 a.m. if he'll be released on bond or detained for further investigation. On the other hand, Bungoma County Police Commander Francis Koholi has announced tough operations against rock preachers. On today's crackdown, one church at Skata area outskirts of Bungoma town by the name New Life Prayer Center and Church Bungoma, Kenya, which is said to be associated with the pastor Ezekiel Odiru, has been summoned to appear before the DCI.
Amesema yuko mbali, lakini tumemwalika pia atakapokuja aje kuwa na wakati na sisi atuelezee kwa undani kwamba hii kanisa alianza nini, na stakabadhi ya kanisa amepatiwa na pastor ule wa Mombasa, Pastor Ezekiel, ruhusa ama fursa kihalali kuweza kuanzisha hii kanisa hapa.
Wanji Sostin, TV47, Bungoma.
Right now, on a sad note, on the health desk, 9 people have lost their lives in the last 2 weeks following the outbreak of an unknown illness in Kargi area, Marsabit County. And as Elizabeth Atieno now reports, at least 80 people are receiving treatment after exhibiting the symptoms.
At the Kargi Health Center, health professionals are working round the clock to try and solve the puzzle and riddle behind a strange disease that has since claimed the lives of 9 people, leaving more than 80 people in urgent need of medical attention.
Tuko na shida ambaye mpaka sahi hatujui ni ugonjwa gani, lakini in a period of 2 weeks tumepoteza watu 9. Kati ya hawa watu 9, watoto ni 3 na watu wazima ni watu 6. Hawa watoto 3 walifarikia hapa Kargi ndani Health Center.
Just a few meters from the health facility, a burial ceremony is underway. The deceased is also a victim of the strange illness, with many deaths occurring in grazing areas, popularly known as foras.
And we thought devolution will come with solutions, because we now see people have powers in their hands. But unfortunately, right now, what we are talking about is technical issues. People addressing procurement challenges, people addressing how to order these drugs. Funds come in, even if there's delays in funds. Their priority needs to be set. Health is one of the biggest priority the county government should have put in place. I believe it's not issue of either mistake being devolved. It's issue of people taking responsibility that is given to them.
Those affected are said to exhibit Kala-Azar-like symptoms and high body temperature, yellowish eyes, swollen spleen, severe headaches, and flu-like symptoms. Residents here tell us that they are forced to travel for many kilometers to access the health facility, which has led to an increasing number of deaths as some patients die on the road.
Sai kwa wamama wenye anasa kuna shida, wengine ana nguvu, ana damu, wanataka kusaidiwa apelekwe Marsabit. Hakuna gari, barabara kwa sababu ni mbaya. Hata ambulance inaitwa kutoka Leisemi sama Marsabit.
In a statement on Thursday, the Marsabit County Health Department stated that a team of disease surveillance experts and laboratory technologists was on the ground working to identify the cause of the outbreak. Elizabeth Atieno, TV 47.
Thank you for that, Liz. Now let's talk politics. President William Ruto and Raila Odinga's bipartisan teams have dropped a contentious proposal to establish the dialogue team through a Gazette notice. The bipartisan team co-chair Azimio Otiende Amolo said President William Ruto's proposal to create the office of the official opposition leader, among others, requires a constitutional amendment and is likely to fall into the Building Bridges Initiative trap, which was struck by the Supreme Court for having been initiated by the executive. Polikoma reports.
President William Ruto's proposals to Parliament to create the office of the official opposition leader, among others, have come back to haunt the bipartisan team, which was forced to drop a contentious proposal to create the bipartisan team through a Gazette notice.
We have unanimously agreed that we cannot be established or go ahead on the basis of an executive order or presidential gazettement. And there are many reasons for that.
Interestingly, the President's Kenya Kwanza team has adopted the proposals as part of their 7-point agenda for the talks, which Azimio co-chair Otiende Amolo said touch on the Constitution and are likely to run into legal problems if initiated by the President, like the BBI.
That to the extent that some of those issues have been raised by the President in Parliament and also through these talks, then we would stand in danger of negating our work.
We want to exude confidence that by the end of Monday, we will have agreed on a possible mechanism of formalizing the talks.
Kenya Kwanza has also introduced another amendment to the Constitution, touching on Section 37 on the right to picket, seeking to hold leaders leading demonstrations and their supporters to account in case of incitement and violence.
You will remember that the Supreme Court held in the BBI case that no amendment can be initiated at the instance of the President.
Azimio is also in a dilemma, having challenged the legitimacy of President William Ruto's victory. Azimio coalition leader Raila Odinga has since said his intention is not to remove the president from power, but to know the truth about the server.
Tukisema server ifunguliwe, sisi hatusemi tunataka Ruto atoke. Tunataka kwani ijulikane ukweli ni ipi. Kama sisi tunasema uongo, ijulikane. Kama sisi tunasema uongo, ijulikane. Lakini wamekataa kufungua server.
The 14-member team has now been left with two options to formalize the team and its operations. First, on whether the joint team should adopt President William Ruto's proposal for the talks to take place in Parliament, or Azimio's proposal to have them outside the August House. Apul Kamau, TV47.
And meanwhile, Jubilee Party faction led by Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni insists that the delegates meeting on the 22nd of June as planned is still on, urging the ELA MP Kanini Kega's faction to attend the meeting and allow members to elect them into leadership of the party, accusing the Kenya Kwanza top officials of interfering with the party matters. This comes as the Jubilee splinter group led by Acting Secretary General and East African Legislative Assembly ELA member Kanini Kega has now written a letter to the Kingi opposing the removal of the Jubilee members allied to the Kenya Kwanza administration.
Tonight, the battle for the soul of the Jubilee Party wages on as the faction led by Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni insists that the delegates meeting scheduled for 22nd this month will go on as planned. Further, the faction has urged the Kanini Kega-led counterparts to attend the delegates meeting should they be in need of removing the current party leader and former President Uhuru Kenyatta, as delegates meeting has the power as per their constitution to choose or whip any leader.
Na unataka uongozi kwa chama, kuja kule uchaguliwe na watu. Hapana tafuta dirisha ya kurukia usiku. Ama kuja kupiga ofisi na mawe. We kuja kwa NDC, sema mimi ninasikia kwamba Uhuru Kenyatta yeye ni mtoto kwangu. Sasa nitamtoa kwa usukani wa Kenya ama uongozi ya wa Kenya. And we see where you go. Na wewe pia kama unafikiri wewe uko na ujasiri ya kutosha, tengeneza chama yako.
Further, they accused the Kenya Kwanza top officials of interfering with their party matters on what they claim to be on a revenge mission following their differences during the Uhuru Kenyatta's regime.
Danganywa na mtu. Hii kuna mtu ambaye ako na haja sana. Kwa sababu tulifukuza yeye kutoka chama ya Jubilee. Sasa anataka kutuonyesha kwa sababu yeye sasa ako mamlakani atajilipiza kisasi. Hii ni utoto.
However, the Jubilee splinter group led by Acting Secretary General and East African Legislative Assembly member Kanini Kega has now written a letter to Speaker Kingi opposing the removal of Jubilee members allied to Kenya Kwanza administration. Kega appealed to the Jubilee members in both houses to stand firm and fight for their rights, adding that they will challenge the blatant and constitutional maneuvers by the leadership of Azimio in Parliament.
The ground and the people who gave them votes are hostile. Yes. Very hostile. And I'm glad that we have vacant positions. And I'm asking the chairs, go back to your ground, get us the loyalists of Jubilee. Yes. Replacing them is easy because without Uhuru Kenyatta, they would not be members of parliament today.
Na nataka kuambia Kanini Kega na Sabina, sisi tuko nje, tunataka hizo viti. Kwa hivyo mtoke tafadhali haraka. Na tarehe 22 tukutane kwa delegate. Yes. Delegate ndio kila kitu kwa chama.
Kuna wale ambao sasa wamejitayarisha kurudisha utawala wa kiimla Kenya. Na ni wajibu wetu sasa kama chama cha Jubilee, uwe mbunge au usiwe mbunge, wewe ni mwananchi wa kawaida, usimame imara kuona ya kwamba kupitia katika chama cha Jubilee mumeukataa uongozi wa kiimla.
In a letter dated May 4th, Ole Kina removed Jubilee Senators Fatuma Dulo of Isiolo, James Lominen of Turkana, Abdul Haji of Garissa, Joseph Kamau of Lamu, Margaret Kamar, who is the nominated member, and Kisumu Senator Tom Ojenda of ODM various committees. Elizabeth Mutuko, TV47.
Now, Kenya has received the second consignment of petroleum under the government-to-government oil deal imported from the UAE as the CS Treasury, Professor Njuguna Ndung'u, hints at the advantages of having this particular deal. Paul Minu with more.
That side.
The Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury, Professor Njuguna Ndung'u, accompanied by the CS Energy, had received the oil vessel at the new Kipevu oil terminal in Mombasa as they relayed emphasis on the importance of the new importation agreement. Professor Njuguna also revealed that the government would consider a restructuring of the tax policy on oil products to support its market and ensure stability.
We cannot have different products having different VAT level. That was the objective. But the whole idea is to say, look at it this way, this is where we need to go, this is where we need to make sure that we create a policy uniformity. And that is the whole idea.
His sentiments therefore seemed to confirm the application to increase the fuel VAT from the current 8% up to 16%.
By the way, we discovered that Kenya has the lowest VAT in the region. Other countries have much higher than 16%. Even though we have an ambition of trying to make sure that we rationalize all taxes in the future, in the coming future, after massive studies have been covered to show how the market structure is working, we still are conscious about what the East African region is doing. We have to encourage them to follow us in terms of rationalizing taxes.
The CS also defended the government-to-government importation criteria, adding that it will eliminate uncertainty of the normal exchange rates that have lately been affected by the scarcity of dollars. On the other hand, the CS Energy Davis Chirchir says that paying for the products using the Kenyan shillings would help stabilize the shillings against the dollar, thus maintaining the prices and stabilizing the economy at large.
So to the extent that the pump price is converted using the dollar price of the month, we will really remove that disadvantage by stabilizing our shilling against the dollar, by removing that pressure on the dollar due to what was happening. Inflation in the US because post-COVID and the money they issued to the economy and the tightening of the monetary policy which is happening now.
The first oil consignment under government-to-government importation policy was received on April 2023. Paul Moniu, TV47, Mombasa.
Thank you, Abdallah Muni, for that. Now, as the new EACC chairman, Bishop David Oginde takes the mantle, a lot is expected of him, including regaining the public confidence in dealing with the graft cases, mostly high-profile ones, and also how best he will implement his 7-strategy agenda to deal with corruption in the country. Flora Limoki unpacks this for us.
I, Dr. David Adang Oginde.
With Kenya having been ranked position 123 out of 180 countries globally in the latest Corruption Perception Index released by Transparency International in January this year, the incoming Ethics and Anti-Corruption Chairman Bishop David Oginde has his work cut out as he strives to slay the vice that has been cited as the biggest impediment to development in the country, and one he himself has termed as Kenya's worst enemy.
That corruption is our worst enemy in this country. It is deep-rooted, it is widespread.
Oginde comes in office at a time when there is a growing negative public perception in the war on graft and the agencies tasked with fighting graft, especially after the withdrawal of the high-profile corruption cases and the appointment of individuals with pending graft cases to top public offices. These include Deputy President Rigathi Gachagwa's 7.3 billion shillings graft case, Public Service CS Aisha Jomo's 19 billion shillings, and former Kenya Power MD 400 million shillings graft case. The recent being former Transport CS engineer Michael Kamau's 33 million shillings graft case, which has been pending in the court for the past 8 years, much to the anger of Kenyans.
Either njia ingine itafutwe ya kulikava assets zenye wenye wameiba, lakini kama ni kuleta watu na mabilipilia zao, hiyo sasa ndio kuongeza zaidi.
I think one of the things that he needs to do is to put away the collar. You know, that collar for pastors and bishops. And so I think that it is a game that government has probably aimed at continuing, to be able to look at men of integrity and the desire to putting them at a place where they probably think that because we have a man of the cloth at EACC, then Kenyans may miraculously be sanitized against corruption.
Oginde will also have to navigate the murky waters of political interference, which has caught up with his predecessors, including Matemu, who left unceremoniously. Governance experts say Oginde should avoid being twisted into politics.
And so political interference will have to be one of those things that the bishop stands very strongly against. And that's probably where that's the only area where I think that the bishopry or the man of the collar mechanism might work positively, because then he will not be able to be swayed by the political class. But Kenyan politicians, we know them. They always get whatever they want, when they want, and however they want it. So the chairman has to be, Bishop Oginde has to be able to stand strong and stand tall against political interference. How he is going to do it, I think, is to win the confidence of the citizens towards the commission and ensure that people feel the power, the weight, and the independence of the commission.
In his inaugural speech, Oginde highlighted 7 key strategies to deal with graft, including review of past undertakings, prevention mechanics, strategic partners, new legal regime, institutional development, multi-sectoral approach, and civic education.
He has failed to understand, in my view, the context of corruption in this country. It is not possible that a person who has been charged with mega corruption is actually arrested, jailed, and is put, the entire process of judiciary takes effect. But when we have high-level individuals who have involved themselves in mega corruption scandals, we don't see that same process following its route and course.
During his confirmation hearing in Parliament, the bishop proposed that the EACC be given prosecutorial powers, promised to introduce strict timelines for the completion of graft cases, and set a higher threshold for dismissal of graft cases. Osido, however, says there is need to build synergies between the county government and the national government through initiating feedback mechanism on the duration the graft cases should take.
Kenyans need to be told how many days or months or years does what level of corruption case take. For example, I know the BBI flopped, but BBI had proposed 2 years. It's 2 years for any corruption case, and that case is dealt with. It is decided and it is closed.
Tonight, Kenyans remain divided on the expectation they have towards the man of God.
Fuata haki katika hii idara ya EACC, uelekeze wa Kenya ambaye wameumia, mali zao zimeenda, mali ya umma imeibiwa, rejesha mali baba na utusaidie.
Ajue kwamba hii tume ambayo ameingia sio injili sasa anahubiri. Injili ni ya kuhubiri, lakini sasa hii ni kupigana na ufisadi.
As he faces a higher calling of restoring public confidence, building on asset recovery, and work on changing the culture of widespread corruption in the public sector.
So help me God.
Flora Limuki, TV 47.
And that story by Flora Limuki takes us to a short break. The side I'll be telling you more about the varsities funding and the tug of war in it. Stick around.
Kiongozi, jina langu Elizabeth Mutuku, na katika kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi tunakupa nafasi kutangamana nao kila siku ya Alhamisi kuanzia saa 1:30 kuendelea siku nyingine. Tutapatana papa hapa umjue kiongozi mwingine.
Jiunge nasi toka hapa ufuoni mwa bahari. Meli yetu itakapotua nanga kwa uhondo ribo ya riwaya hii mwisho wa kosa. Monica.
It's early morning in Maralal. Start your morning informed, educated, entertained, and above all, know your country. From the beautiful plains of Samburu County to the skyscrapers of Nairobi, Morning Cafe certainly got you covered. Indeed, a beautiful place to watch and certainly a moment of understanding and knowing your country. Indeed, to the remotest parts of every county. Join me, Linda Alela, every weekday from 6 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
The diversity of Kenya's wildlife has garnered international fame.
This is pellets that we give to the tourists, the giraffes. We ration because we don't want the giraffes to eat too much of this. We want them to have more of the natural browse.
We may not always get the opportunity to go out to see the wildlife, but you'll never miss the opportunity to see it from the comfort of your couch.
This is home to animals that have been found out there either injured, abandoned, or confiscated from people who are holding them illegally.
Only on TV47 Wildlife, every Sunday at 7:30 p.m.
Disability is a club that anyone can join.
I live with special needs. It means I have a limitation. There are things I can't be able to do personally myself.
And in our journey to talk about disability, we tell the stories of those with disabilities and even sit with specialists to understand what it means for those affected directly and indirectly.
Everybody's life, mine has also been faced with ups and downs.
If it becomes a self-stigmatized thing where you feel like you are judging yourself too harsh, you blame yourself, and you perceive that it happened because you failed.
Join me, Zainab Mohammed, on Beyond the Limit every Saturday at 7:30 p.m.
An entrepreneur is defined as someone who has the ability and desire to establish, administer, and succeed in a startup venture along with the risks entitled to it to make profits.
I'm a professional financier with a professional paper in banking. However, for fashion, it's something I've always loved.
Right, some 35 minutes past the top of the hour. You're watching TV47 News Tonight. Now, Kenya, Ethiopia and Somalia have set about tackling illegal immigration, trafficking of persons, narcotics and weapons, and terrorism, among other security threats along the shared borders with the support from the UK government. The three countries have launched the Borderlands Assistance Security Project that seeks to help them respond to the cross-border security challenges. Mwege William with that story.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua presided over the launch of Borderlands Assistance Security Project, which seeks to promote joint peace and stability in Kenya, Ethiopia and Somalia, which the United Kingdom has chipped in to ensure cross-border relations is maintained amid aims to heighten security operations to tackle emerging security threats facing the three countries.
A stable Somalia, a stable Ethiopia contributes immensely to the stability of Kenya.
Your communities living together are bound by a shared history and a shared destiny.
You have numerous challenges together: drought, resource conflicts, armed proliferation, terrorism.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki, also in attendance, hailed the launch of the project as opportune as the region grapples with complex and sensitive security challenges that include terrorism and illicit trade.
The reason for that is to ensure we work together. And number two, to ensure we leave no detail unattended because of the complexities and the sensitivities of security matters in this part of the world.
The project was launched in consultation with the governments of Kenya, Ethiopia, Somalia, in assistance of the UK government.
When our neighboring states are insecure and there is stability, and people have to flee here, and we have to host refugees in this country, is a big drain on our own resources that are already scarce. We therefore want to support this project 100%.
But you also have so much that is good and positive together, and it is that we want this programme to help bring on and bring about, because for too long we focused on the challenges, and yes, we should focus on the challenges, but we need to look at those root causes of instability, not just the symptoms.
The launch of the project follows months after Kindiki toured the region on February, where he announced the reopening of the Kenya-Somali border point after a decade of its closure, following numerous attacks from Al-Shabaab. Residents have been lamenting over the adverse effects brought about by the restriction of movement between the two countries dating back to the year 2014. Moige William, TV47.
And to matters education, private universities have agreed with President William Ruto's directive of cutting off the plan of funding private universities under the old model and instead introduce a new model of funding only the needy students in private universities. However, a section of education stakeholders have accused the president of coming up with a skewed model, terming the process as political, and that education stakeholders were not fully involved. In a statement, the private universities says all students in public universities who qualify for government scholarships or loans will be provided.
A storm is brewing following President William Ruto's directive of funding universities under the new model. A section of education stakeholders feel the government has taken a wrong turn by failing to involve other stakeholders to come up with a new model.
Ufadhili huu unaathiri nani? Unaathiri mwanafunzi ambaye anajiunga na chuo kikuu. Huyu mwanafunzi anafundishwa na muadhiri, wazazi pia wanahusika. Hawa ndio watu ambao wanastahili kushirikishwa.
Others feel the directives by the president was political and did not factor in other things like research in universities.
Option ya research funding yenye bado wachatuambia itakuwa namna gani. Now a certain percentage of our GDP iko supposed kuwa inaingia kwa research. Lakini hiyo pesa ingiangi kwa university directly, inatuma in some other bodies. But if the government ingekuwa pia ina fund research kwa hizo universities, ingekuwa easier for us to generate more funds.
The directives, which came seemingly due to the cash crunch in government coffers, also is said to have been fueled by poor financial management of some institutions.
Even wakaenda out of the country kuelimisha wanafunzi wa another country using Kenyan money. Because kama jengwa tulifugua Arusha, tukafugua Rwanda, tukafugua Nigeria, and I know other universities, hata nyinyi nasikia mko huko, lakini I mean not you, the other universities, hata kama multimedia nasikia wameenda out of the country.
Nikitaka maybe kurent ama kuingia partnership with the private organizations kujenga hostels ama kujenga kitu fulani, zinakuwa ni kubwa sana. You must have made proposals to this ministry.
In a notice to members of public, the Kenya Association of Private Universities said that all students will be placed into both private and public universities as per their courses of their choice. Under the new model, students in public universities who qualify for government scholarships or loans will be provided, while students in private universities who qualify for government loans through HELB will be provided.
HELB, first of all, is a government body. It has to depend on the money disbursed to them by the exchequer or the treasury. If the money is not disbursed, they cannot give. So let's hope the government will on time, disburse this money to help.
In the new model, students from less vulnerable backgrounds will receive government scholarships of up to 53% and 40% loans from the Higher Education Loans Board HELB, and households will contribute to 7%. As for students from able backgrounds, the government will give them scholarships of up to 38% of the cost of their degree courses and 55% in the form of loans from HELB, and households will contribute 7%. Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu told Parliament that this is part of reforms in the higher education sector to make the universities financially sustainable. Paul Kirobi, TV47.
Let's focus on something else here. And Mzee Walagi Wagocho Mambura, renowned freedom fighter who hails from Naivasha, Nakuru County, has expressed his worries over the move to bury the wife to the Mau Mau veteran Dedan Kimathi, Mukami Kimathi, without honoring her will that the government should avail the remains of Kimathi for decent burial. He spoke to a reporter, Willie Dennis Njiru, in Naivasha.
This is Mau Mau freedom fighter Wallace Wagosho Mwambora, born in 1922, Nyandarua district. Despite his advanced age, he invites us for a ride to showcase his strength and ability to maneuver. He recounts light moments with the late Mukami Kimathi.
Mukami mimi sikumuelewa zaidi, nilielewa mzee wake, bwana yake. Huyo ndio nimeishi naye miaka mingapi, yote niliyokuwa Nyandarua. Tulikuwa tunaishi na yeye. Na tulikuwa tunaishi location 2, yani Murang'a.
He recounts that the struggle for independence was never a mean feat.
Wakati tulikuwa msituni kula, tulikuwa tunasema tutachapana na Muingereza, atumalize, watoto wetu waje watawale. Asipotuchida tutamtoaga mpaka aondoke kama alivyoondoka. Ndio. Na tulifanya hivyo.
Wagosho narrating times and tribulations with the late Mau Mau hero.
Na tukawada tukatoa hao watu wawili hao, na tukarudi nao na tukavuja jera na mabuduki tukatoa na tukaenda naye, na tulikuwa hatujui kupiga mbuduki.
That notwithstanding, queries lingering as to why the government has yet to honor family requests for Kimathi's remains.
Hiyo ndio ilikuwa kusudi yetu ya kutaka mifupa ya Kimathi tuletewe na serikali ya Muingereza, tuletewe kama alizikwa, sababu na sio hii tunaanza kudai sasa. Tulikuwa tunadai hata wakati kama sio miaka mingi.
If wishes were horses, then Wagosho will deter burial processions, which would be in absentia for the burial Jabini on Saturday.
Kama ningeulizwa mimi ningesema tusimsike Mukami hata kuletewa kabla hatujaletewa mifupa ya Kimathi. Tuna haja sana naye. Tuondoe ile bingu bado amefugwa naye hata wakati huu. Tuiondoe, tumzike akiwa hai. Sasa ndugu yangu, hata kukumbukwa na mtu ati tulifanya kazi, tumekumbukwa. Hata kuambiwa asante.
Reporting for TV47 from Naivasha in Nakuru County, I'm Willie Dennis Njiru.
Right, listen to this next story. Police in Kakamega are investigating an incident where a 23-year-old woman is alleged to have killed her husband before surrendering herself at Matete police station. And as Violet Oma reports, the suspect is said to have locked the body in the house before presenting herself to the police station.
It is a bizarre incident that has shocked residents of Lunyonywe village, Matete sub-county in Kakamega County. It is alleged that the 23-year-old Beatrice Naliaka murdered her husband Alex Fukwo following domestic wrangles.
Ndugu yangu amechinjwa, amekatwa mabega hivi, ukimwona unafikiria ni ng'ombe, amelala kwa damu. Huyo mwanamke amebeba kila kitu kwa nyumba. Kijana alikuwa amejipanga kweli. Huyo mwanamke alalangi njaa kwa hiyo nyumba.
Na ukiona mwili wake jinsi imekaa, hata kama ni mwanamke hawezi kutenda hivyo peke yake.
Hata kama mtu anakatwa lazima anaweza kupika nduru. Maajabu ni maajabu. Hatukiasikia jambo ambalo linakuja na statement ya kwamba mwenzetu alipika nduru na akakosa usaidizi.
After committing the murder, Naliaka is said to have locked the deceased in the house before surrendering herself to the police station. The deceased mother, Rosemary Wasonyoka, says that the two had an ending fight but didn't fathom that it will escalate to deaths.
Tunaanza kujaribu simu yake, kupika ni mteja. Alifunga, akaweka tu kafuli kubwa. Na anaenda. Sasa ukipita hatu kwa mlango hapo, huwezi kujua ati mtu wako nyumba, mtoto yangu amekufa. Walichinja tu kama wanachinja kama ng'ombe. Kata huko, akakata miguu.
The locals are now calling on the government to ensure justice for the family following the murder of their king.
Hatuchui mwenzetu alitenda nini, ndio awachwe hivyo na achinjwe hivyo au wawe hivyo kama kinyama.
Elsewhere, residents of Shinzu Village, Lurambi sub-county, want the government to guarantee their safety due to numerous theft cases reported in the recent past.
Nimesaidia hapa watu na wapikia mandazi, nimeleta hapa kisiaki. Sasa hiyo vitu si mimi kama investors. Sasa ikiwa ndahama hii area itakuwa inarudi chini. Tunaomba usalama iwe juu. Usalama ndio inaweza leta hata msungu hapa. Usalama ndio inaweza leta hata muhindi hapa.
Hawana haraka, wanaingia wanapika ugali. Wanapika ugali na wanakula na wanaenda.
Mabunduki ziko kwa station zimelala huko. Na kitu cha maana kabisa, naomba serikali ya mbele itusaidie kwa upande wa iko maskari walevi chakara. Wengine wanakaa miaka zaidi ya 10 kwa station.
This comes a time when many business people are counting losses after their shops were broken into. Janet Mwendwa is a trader in the area.
Mimi nilikuwa nimechukua loan hiyo nimechukisha vitu jana na imeimbiwa yote usiku hii. Kuja wakakata tu kafuli na si kusikia na si kuwaona.
The residents who fear for their lives now want the government to put up a police station in the area. Violet Auma, TV47, Kakamega.
Well, let's talk business now. And mobile telco giant Safaricom has posted a 22.2% decline in net profit for the full year ended March 2023, the third consecutive drop in earnings on heavy capital investments in Ethiopia. Profitability stood at 52.48 billion Kenyan shillings, down from 67.49 billion shillings posted in the previous period. The performance results were released Thursday morning, even as the banking regulator National Bank of Ethiopia announced granting the telco a license to roll out M-Pesa mobile money services in the country. Safaricom rolled out operations in Ethiopia about 7 months ago and projects that the unit will break even after 4 years of operations. The unit posted a net loss of 21.7 billion shillings.
During this period, we worked across industry to introduce merchant interoperability, and together we launched a national QR code which will ease payments. We recently launched the merchant credit proposition together with the Kenya Commercial Bank Group. The facility will provide access to affordable credit, especially among small and micro businesses that have previously been locked out. As of this morning, Safaricom Telecommunication Ethiopia has officially been granted the license to operate mobile money services. I know this has been a long journey, but great to see us being granted this license. And I can see our CEO from the Safaricom Ethiopia is here today. Annual, well done to you and the team for all the hard work in getting the license. The National Bank of Ethiopia will be announcing formally at around 8:30 this morning to confirm that we have received the license.
Variables to see the health of the business grew 16% year over year. We are now at the end of H2, we're about close to 25 transactions per customer per month. And not too long ago, pre-COVID, average transactions per customer per month was hovering around 9 to 10. So pre-COVID, and now we are at a level of 25. And we continue to invest and drive innovation of new products as we increase our service offerings to our customers.
Nairobi County Chief Executive in charge of mobility, Boniface Nyamu, has called on the matatu sector to embrace the use of electric transport to support the government's initiative to transition to clean, green and sustainable new e-mobility solutions. Speaking during the launch of electric vehicles by Metrotrans Sacco, Nyamu said the initiative will also ensure the safety and improve the business environment, plus the reduction of emissions. On his part, Metrotrans chairperson John Mutha said since the world is changing due to climate change and pollution issues, clean transport is the way to go. Now, Metrotrans Sacco has added 5 electric buses to its Nairobi fleet.
In this by embracing technology and also taking a step towards ensuring that we are actively participating in reduction of emissions.
And in addition to these buses being 100% electric, they're also 100% cashless. So passengers will be paying and interacting with the bus in a modern, convenient, and clean way.